All right, it's a great day for it here in the Roaring Fork Valley. I'm with Danny Blake here with Dynamic Performance Systems. Danny, how are you doing today?
Great, good to be here.
Good to have you. Danny, can you tell me a little bit about Dynamic Performance Systems and what you do?
Yeah, Dynamic Performance Systems is the company that I started around this time actually in 2020 during the pandemic. And I really wanted to bring elite level training services to the Roaring Fork Valley, encompassing a broad array of philosophies from strength conditioning to endurance sports to nutrition to lifestyle manipulations, everything kind of for the sake of betterment of performance and a better experience in the mountains.
Nice. So there's a lot of coaches out there in the fitness world. There's a lot of online influencers, if you want to call them, gurus, et cetera, et cetera. Not many are doing programs like that. Why? Well, why do all that to do what you want to do?
Yeah, really, I was inspired by my advisor to be, Dr. Galpin, through another teacher at that time, and we just followed what interested me and tried to understand both the science, the physiology around it, and how to apply it to elite athletes.
Wow, that's awesome. So what would you say Dynamic Performance Systems' mission is overall?
Yeah, the mission's pretty simple. It's really to provide elite services to these sorts of sports that oftentimes don't get a lot of high-end resources that the big four sports would typically get in larger environments.
What are the big four sports? Was that football, baseball?
Football, baseball, basketball, hockey.
The American big four.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I was an alpine ski racer growing up. I did have a lot of good strength and conditioning coaches, but there was a lot of folklore and myths and or misunderstandings around training, and being in kind of smaller, more remote areas, I felt as though that I was missing out on a lot of developmental characteristics just because of my geographics and where these kind of elite thinkers were being drawn to, not necessarily to remote areas focusing on more esoteric sports like trail running and alpine skiing, uphill mountaineering, all that stuff. So I wanted to bring that level of knowledge, specificity, and application to the sports that are dearest to my heart.
So focusing primarily on mountain sports.
Yeah.
How long do you think it takes till mountain sports get to the level of viewership and amount of focus that the big four have?
I mean, it's kind of happening before our eyes. I think UTMB just happened. There's a lot of broadcasting around that. There's a lot of resources. I think trail running is increasingly becoming more and more popularized in more urban areas as well. There's a lot of companies and current athletes that are pushing that forward. We'll see ski mountaineering or skimo in the next Olympics.
Wow.
So that's exciting. I think more and more people are being exposed to these different sports or different options to express themselves physically through, a lot of different avenues, especially major productions like Free Solo. Opened up a whole new audience to who Alex Honnold was, who Jimmy Chin was.
Why should a mountain athlete in all the sports, skimo, trail running, downhill, etc., come to work with Danny Blake and your organization, Dynamic Performance Systems?
Yeah, I think hiring a coach typically is a really solid idea to have somebody else kind of looking over your progression, especially if you're having issues, either health or performance or body-wise. Typically, you can't resolve the problem with the same sort of thinking that got you there. So that coach provides a different perspective, a different nuance, a different experience that may be able to guide you through that process. I think specific to DPS and kind of my coaching philosophy is whether it's nutrition as a performance anchor or some sort of gut dysfunction, pathology, knee pain, or imbalances structurally, whether it's endurance programming and having a difficult time understanding volume, load progression. The coach, I provide that pretty well for the majority of people, and we can really kind of tailor it to whatever your needs or goals are. So I work with a multitude of athletes across the world in multiple disciplines, from alpine skiing to mountain biking, you name it. I'm currently with athletes in that area and or position in life, so we can really help on multiple levels.
Nice. So it's really approaching each athlete from a whole perspective, as opposed to just focus on specific skills or whatever it might be, or a specific problem. My guess is some things are leading to other things. And you provide that bird's eye view for each athlete, and then can get into the details after getting the whole picture. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. We really kind of take a first principles approach identify potential barriers to performance, but also take the athlete's perspective and what their goals are and what they've identified in their perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a process. Some people, it's a multi-month progression. Some people, it's a very scalpel approach. But if it's about performance and we have the tools, concepts, and experience to provide that goal or that effort, then we can do that.
To the viewer, one thing I love about Danny and his company is that it's really not about him, like a lot of coaches and trainers out there that make it about them because they are leaders in the industry for that sake. He's very, very much about the individual, which I think is huge when it comes to actually people getting the results they're looking for, even long term as well. You mentioned that you have athletes all over the place, so not just here in the Roaring Fork Valley, but you have athletes all over. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I've got an athlete in Greece preparing for the Alpine World Cup, really kind of all over. And then a lot of times with the athletes that are local, they're not just necessarily like here full time,
right.
So having that flexibility to move from a in-person specific to a like more hybrid or remote specific option, so that there's no disruption to the progression and or like my presence is an essential component to like their progression.
For those that are not training at a high level or training for a specific race or anything like that, can they come to Dynamic Performance Systems to seek your expertise and coaching?
Yeah, 100%. Ultimately, like if you have a body, you're an athlete. To be elite doesn't mean that you need to compete. I also work with a myriad of high school athletes, kind of in those more orthodox sports. But then also, there's the population of parents and or individuals who just want to be as strong as possible to be able to do as much as they can that don't necessarily compete, but they're certainly partaking in activities that demand a high degree of strength, power, endurance, and athleticism.
That's awesome. Very cool. Tell me a little bit about Danny Blake. Danny before the Masters, Danny before DPS. What's your story?
I was an alpine skier, ski racer. I wanted to be the best I could be. That really kind of guided my whole life. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Played a lot of sports growing up. Ultimately, I moved away for high school, and I think I followed that skiing path to Lake Placid, New York for a school called Northwood School, which was a college preparatory school, provided a great education foundation and also an outlet to pursue sports and really engage with the outdoors. And it was a great way to expand my worldview at such a young age and build a lot of independence and a lot of just skills that not all 14-year-olds were necessarily equipped to deal with. I had a great high school career and I wanted to keep skiing, kind of keep following this passion. So I moved out to Vail, learned a lot, traveled a lot. Also enjoyed the summers in Colorado and really kind of fell in love with Colorado itself and the lifestyle here, and I just really felt at home for the first time.
Winters bring you, the summers keep you, huh?
100%, especially being 18, 19. And then eventually it was time to go to college. So I was lucky enough to get a spot on the Plymouth State University ski team in New Hampshire.
Cool.
And again, that kind of this trope of just following skiing really guided the storyline in my life all the way through college. Great coaches, great lifelong friends at every spot. So I'm really grateful for the path that my athletic career kind of guided me to then segue into exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So what is Danny doing when he's not coaching?
Training.
Training yourself.
Yeah.
Walking the talk. Nice. What are you training in right now?
Right now, I'm really just building my endurance, doing a lot of trail running, uphill, backcountry, skiing, but really just trying to kind of transform myself from my more so power sport background in alpine skiing to more suitable phenotype for mountain athletics. Really just building endurance and trying to take this as far as I can.
Nice. And you just ran the Grand Traverse?
Yeah.
Nice. How'd that go?
It was a hard day.
Yeah.
I battled a lot. Really awesome race. Great terrain. Great people. I did the ski in the winter, so it was really cool to kind of have the same kind of bird's path, but under different contexts and different terrain, and see two different worlds.
Now we got to get you on a bike so you can do all three.
Yeah, that's nice.
Nice. Very cool. So if someone wants to seek out your services, how do they find you?
Yeah, you can visit the website, dynamicperformance.systems. You can fill out the discovery form, and then from there, if we kind of match and space opens up, we'll kind of get the process going with just a general assessment and some paperwork. And if you have any questions, feel free to find me on Instagram, both at dynamicperformance.systems as well as my personal handle, Danny_Blake. And or you can stop by the Core Gym, check it out. I'm typically there most parts of the day.
Cool. That's where you do most of your training at Core?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Core in Carbondale.
Core in Carbondale.
Got it. Very cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, we'll have a link here for you to be able to reach out to Danny. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.